The sport of off-road racing is full of incredible stories, wild characters, legends, and even villains. We cover it all on offroadracer.com, but there's only so much we can put down in an article. Sometimes we have to dig a little deeper, and that means sitting down with some of our industry's most influential characters and hitting record. Welcome to the Off-Road Racer podcast, a Mad Media production, made exclusively for offroadracer.com. Each month, we'll go beyond the dirt into the homes, shops, and lives of the most interesting and game-changing icons of our sport. You'll hear about their history, success, failure, and everything in between as we pull back the curtain and reveal the stories of their lives. I'm your host, Matt Martelli, and this is the Off-Road Racer podcast.
All right, we are here at the Rigid booth at SEMA. Jim Beaver, Matt Martelli, my brother from another, throwing down with the Off-Road Racer and Jim Beaver Show podcast. But we got, I don't even know how to introduce you because you're all over the place. But Christopher Polvoorde, good friend of mine. Man, you're just bouncing all over. I laugh because I look at where you started and where you're at now, dude, and you've accomplished a lot in off-road.
Yeah, I've been able to have some fun. Been good. It's been fun. Like, it's been going fast. But I enjoy it so far. So,
how many years in are you?
13 years. Yeah.
You started when you were like 2.
10. I know. I look 12. What
did you start in trophy cart? You were a trophy cart kid?
Trophy cart.
Yep.
One of the but no one in my family's ever raced or anything, so we were one of the outliers in the beginning.
Well, it's cool too because like I know your dad, and he's as passionate, if not more passionate about this as you are, right?
Yeah, no, we're addicted. We both drink the juice. So, yeah, no, he loves it. He loves being part of it, being behind the scenes, and, like, he loves it. And now racing Baja, like, being able to chase, he just eats that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Like, there's this dynamic in off-road racing with fathers and sons in particular where it really bonds them, you know? Like, and how old are you now?
23.
Yeah. When I was 23, I was not hanging out with my dad, right?
No, yeah, that's – literally, my dad's my best friend, so it's kind of like I joke, like it's concerning. Like I spend so much time with him, but we work together in off road. We work together in our other business. We travel together. I live in his basement. I mean, yeah, it's a lot. But
yeah, that's funny though that you. Christopher saying I live in my parents' basement is a little bit different than
It's a very nice basement.
People that are not watching this and they're like, yeah, Christopher's not the kid like playing Minecraft, talking trash, you know, on social media with bot accounts and fake accounts and stuff like that. Like,
no, it's pretty fun. Well, because we just got it. We just moved, and we have another house that eventually I'm going to move into, but I got another. But yeah, they're like, just live in our basement for now. So now I just been embracing people. Where do you live? Not with my parents. I live in their basement. It's separate, you know. I have my own entrance down the back. It's kind of, you know, but I can still go upstairs, whatnot.
Yeah, but you have the ultimate out to all that, and you're like, but it's okay because I have a trophy truck.
You know, it's a balance.
Yeah. I've got a truck worth as much as a house.
I could have a trophy truck or a house.
Yeah.
As you can see, I don't choose very financially smart.
No, but you choose the funnest option. That's what I like about you.
Yeah, no. 23, I'm just chasing it. So
how has the transition from short course to desert been?
It's been challenging. It's been good, though. I think it's, you know, short course sets us up so well for we're just trying to perfect every corner because if we make a mistake, everyone sees it. And we see it on the time, too. So now jumping into the desert where you kind of have this free, you know, that. But it's been logistically, that's a whole new challenge. And that's what I think I've loved about it so much. It's so many new challenges. And then also, like, the mental part of, like, while I'm actually racing, like, I can't go 125% all the time. Like, but there's times where I need to, and then there's times where I don't. So, like, that's been it's so much of a new challenge that I'm just, like, addicted to that. You know, in short course, it was so turnkey for me. I was just doing it. It's what I knew how to do. I showed up, raced, boom. Where this is, like, overwhelming. New. Every race, it's like, oh, we got to figure this problem out. Or
yeah, I always use stupid analogies so that I can understand stuff and explain it to people. But it's like going from, like, a street fighter to like an MMA fighter, right? Yeah. It's like full Jedi shit, you know? Like as you learn and gain more racecraft, you just get better and better and better. And it's been cool for me to watch the transition. I love short course, but obviously I'm a desert guy, right? And, I always hope that, and sorry, because I'm going to call you a kid.
I look 12. So.
Yeah, but no, I mean, you're an adult. I'm just using that phrase, kid. It's like when kids like you come up through trophy carts into short course, right? And then into the desert. It's like, to me, it's like a gift. I'm like, yes, like this kid is going to come. He's going to be here for a long time, and he's going to be very, very good. And one thing I want to compliment you on is like your career in 6100. Like, it's been very clear that you're working at it. You're not just one of these guys who has a problem or bad luck and pouts and goes home. You guys are improving and improving and improving. And, in fact, in this last year, like you've been hunting down trophy trucks, in a 6100.
Yeah, no, it's been fun. And like you said, yeah, every race, it's how do we improve? How do we do this? And that's like, it's been such a fun challenge, but it's been, my family didn't do this. Like, there's so many generations. Yeah. So it's building chase trucks, building logistics, like building that. And it's like building a whole new business. And it's exciting and a lot of work. But the desert is just, it's the ultimate.
It's magic.
It's such a good high of, and then you're doing it for 20 hours straight.
That Baja flow in particular that you get into, where it's like that zen, where you're hauling ass, but you figured out really like the rhythm of the earth, right?
Yeah.
It's one of those things that once you do it once, you always want to have that feeling, yeah. And irregardless of whether it's in a race or whether it's more intense, obviously, when you're in a race.
Yeah.
But even when I go down out here to the Mojave or down to Baja, and I get into that mode where it's like, I don't know, it's usually like right around 100 miles in, and it just, everything starts flowing.
Everything's clicking, and you don't even realize how fast you're going. And you look down, and you're like, oh.
You get in that zone, and it's like, and it's just funny because you have to experience to understand what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's like, especially down in Baja, there'll be like boulders on the side of the road and things like that. I'll have people afterwards like watch GoPro or something like that, and they'll be like, "Man, you were within inches. Were you going to hit it?" And I'm like, "No," because you become one with the race vehicle. And it's like threading the needle isn't a big deal because when you go in and you may be an inch away from that big boulder, but you're not going to hit it.
Yeah,
and it's subconscious. It's like you and the vehicle become one, and it's like it's hard to explain that to people.
No, it is, and then it jumping now like in the all-wheel drive, like it's even like that zen is so intense because the all-wheel drive really doesn't feel that fast. I know that's crazy to say, but like you just get in this zen and it's so powerful, and then it's insane, like the speeds of that zen. It's been blowing my mind.
Yeah. So, what was your first drive in the all-wheel drive?
The last race, so the Baja 400. So I about a month before that, I went and drove it for about 100 miles, and then didn't drive it for a month. Jumped into it and raced it. So there's a lot to learn. I definitely. 6100, I was still, figuring it out, but getting in that point where it was, okay, I know this truck, and now it's just like, what the heck? It's nothing like I've ever driven before.
Yeah, Neil Mason and his brother, they build an amazing platform. I love the race tech of like the technical evolution of, and especially with them, because there was a lot of like, hey, you can't do that, and he's like, no, I'm going to build my own transmission. No, I'm going to build an all-wheel drive truck, right? And the thing I like about them in particular is like they're not stopping. I know they're working on a new truck platform with Jesse Jones. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, no, I've seen some things, and they're awesome to work with, and they're both geniuses, and they know what they're doing, and they've proved it, and it's crazy now how many. I mean, I don't know. I think in the past there was these leading manufacturers, but you look at the top 12 and they're all Mason all-wheel drives, and you're like, it's wild because everyone's going like back to this, but then now everyone's trying to develop their own stuff, and so it's an interesting platform, and they're really fun to work with, and they're very smart.
So you race in the 1,000 with Walzer, right?
Correct.
And what section are you doing?
I'm doing the start, so I'll do race mile 0 to 535.
So basically, you're getting out at where?
San Ignacio.
San Ignacio.
Yeah. So yeah.
And he's going to do to the finish.
Ray Griffith will Griffith will do to Catavina, which I'm not sure the exact race mile, and then he'll get in, do Fred Stratcher Trail, and take it home. So, yeah, I have about 9 hours, and then those two should be right around 7 hours.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
and you have a tough section. I mean, that's super. There's some fast stuff in the beginning, right? You're running the beach, and then you've got to run up over the mountain and drop down in Loretto. That's some technical stuff.
That's where it gets really technical, and it's I'm heading down tomorrow to start pre-run, but I'm like been watching so much Google Earth and stuff like that, just trying to it's tough down on the bottom of the peninsula. We don't spend a ton of time down there, so like San Felipe, it's like I know every rock, know every
That's it. If it was running reverse the first 500 miles, you'd be like, yeah, no problem, Kate. Yeah. I've done these trails a million times.
Yeah, and I've luckily like done a ton of UTV rides, so like down there, and I know a lot of these trails, but still UTV ride, and then now when you're coming through with a truck this wide, like you have to think so much different. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm really excited that I got to do that section. I love it down there, and like
it's beautiful. It's beautiful. You're going to have a lot of challenges this year. There's a lot of standing water because of the hurricane that just came through.
Yeah. I've heard a lot's changed, and they say some of it's really fast now, and then some of the other stuff they're saying, oh, you're going to be taking your time. And that's, I mean, with a 1,300-mile race, like it's going to be a long day. It's tough starting because you're like, you got to find that balance of pushing but also cruising. So we'll see, and I think
you don't want to lose touch, but you don't want to destroy the truck either in the first half of the race.
No, I mean, because by the time at race mile 1,000, they drop into San Felipe and
do every wash in San Felipe. I saw that. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting. I think they threw a lot at us, and I don't know. I'm interested to see how it all plays out because.
I was asking Sal. He didn't give me a straight answer, but I said, look, in your opinion, do you think this is the hardest 1,000? He goes, well, we did 2,000 miles before. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't, I'd have to compare those courses.
There was a lot of transit miles in the 2,000, too,
yeah.
I think, on pavement.
Yeah, I don't recall that race that well because it was one of those ones where you're like, it felt like it was a month long, right? And so your brain was just like, you would dump information so that you could process more information during that one. So I think this one's going to be really, really interesting. And it's my opinion is it's going to be about attrition. And I think, the things are going to break. I don't think anybody's going to get out totally clean. And it's where they break and how you handle that fixing of the problem, right? And I don't think it's just a four-wheel drive thing. I think two-wheel drives, this is the type of race where, somebody could swap a transmission, I feel, and still win the race.
So Mitch, why is this bike so drippy?
It's our 23 race bike. We can start up front, work our way to the back. Bones can tell you about the suspension.
The rear shock is one of the most critical parts of the bike.
Pegs with the titanium mounts.
Kashima coating here.
Anti-gravity lightweight battery.
Young's Modulus.
Horse and a half.
Works Chassis Lab.
More tie than a space shuttle.
Really? I might need that repeated.
This thing slaps.
Slaps.
Oh, you should have told me that earlier.
No, it's going to be interesting. I don't think we've seen, like last year's 1,000 was so fast, and so I think it's going to be kind of like the old days where someone's going to maybe win by an hour or 2 hours. Like, it's not going to be within these couple seconds because there's just going to be so many variables. So
yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. It's a challenge. And now driving on the all-wheel, like in the 6100, it would have been a lot easier, I guess you could say, like because we could have maintained. And now, like the all-wheel drive, it's like, wow, there's a lot of failure points.
Well, with an all-wheel drive, too, I think, and I haven't been behind the wheel of an all-wheel drive trophy truck, but I have been all-wheel drive rally cars, things like that. But with an all-wheel drive, you have to drive it different because they don't work unless you're driving them at their limit. It's just the way, it's just the nature of the beast. So it's not like you can drive, I'm going to save the truck and drive at 80%. Thing doesn't work well. Yeah. You have to drive it at 100% to get it to work right, correct?
Correct, but it is a different, like I found with the all-wheel drive, like you're not on the edge of disaster as much. Yes, you're going fast, you're driving it hard. But like a 6100, you're like just trying to not.
It's a ragged edge.
Like because like you got to carry momentum, so you're literally just holding on to that edge all the time, and like you're prepared to like it's going to lose that edge pretty often in 6100. I mean, there's so many like highlight clips I feel of 6100 lead trucks because we're just on that like fine line, and something changes a little. It's very easy to, and we'll just start bushwhacking or what. You know what I mean? Like, but in the all-wheel drive, I do feel like you don't have to be on that edge as much to still be fast, but they do need to be driven. So I know it's kind of contradicting itself, but it's a challenge. So I'm excited to see how it all plays out. I don't think it's going to be an easy one. I think it's going to be long.
Oh yeah,
day.
this is going to be really interesting one to watch too, because in all off-road racing, and this is what I love about it, there's drama, right? The guy that's this idea that the guy that starts the race gets out totally clean. That almost never happens, right?
Yeah. No, yeah. It's. I don't know. I'm excited because I usually don't get a chase, so like now I get to be part of the chase and see that experience once I get out. So I think, hopefully I'm not wrenching too much, but if I have to get in there and
That's funny. Like, first, I used to race Baja a lot, and there was times like, I'd split driving or whatever, and I first started soloing everything, then I'd start splitting driving and things like that. Got towards the end where it was like, when I wasn't driving, I was in the chase truck. Somebody else was in there, and I'm like, I was seeing parts of Baja I'd never seen before. They're like, you've been coming down here for years. I'm like, but I was always in the race car. I know what these chase roads look like.
Yeah, this year at the Nora 1000 was my first time ever driving actually on like the highway.
Yeah.
Like from below Guerrero Negro and stuff. I was driving through here. I was like, this is cool.
Yeah,
like,
you're always on the race car.
Like, I was like, and they're like, I got lost at one point, and they're like, what are you? I'm like, dude, I've never been here. I've never been on the highway here. Like, I didn't even know this town existed.
Right.
I spent 3 months a year in Baja, but like, it was just because I've always, gone down like the San Juanico side or, that stuff. So yeah, it was fun. That's what I'm kind of looking forward to, like being involved with the chase. And
for people who don't understand it, like chasing the 1,000 is a very radical and unique experience. And I've done it a bunch of times and filmed, right? And done it with race teams and raced. But, there's certain things that you get to experience when you're making the commitment to do the full peninsula run. You're going to be up for 26 hours, maybe longer, depending on the team you're chasing. But you get to see stuff and experience stuff that nobody else in the world does. And I'll tell you actually a really cool, quick story. I can't remember what year it is. I'd have to look it up. But Garen Cadiente was leading the 1,000, and we were doing work with him. And there was a pavement section, so I sat there. I waited for him to pop out in the pavement section, and I'm on the radio to him. It's like, 2 in the morning or something, right? And I'm like, hey, man, you're doing great, And I'm like, you're leading the 1,000, man. Like, soak this in, right?
Yeah.
He's laughing at me. He's all, I'm just trying to focus, and I'm like telling him jokes and stuff, and just to keep him, keep the mood light. And then he, obviously turned back onto the course, and just rips away. And I was like, how cool is it that in the entire world of racing that we can have this totally unique experience like that, but you got to put in the work, right? It's not sit in a stadium and have some popcorn and a beer. It was like, at that point, I think we were already like 16 hours in or something, right?
Yeah.
Like, I was tired. But after it was really funny because that was right. It was right by the where the road crosses the peninsula in Guerrero Negro, and normally right there you're like, I need another driver. I need to take a nap, right? But just the energy of the situation is like everybody's like, all right, you need me to drive? I'm like, nope, I'm good. I'm good till Loreto.
Yeah.
Get to Loreto and the sun starts coming up, and then I'm like, I start head nodding,
No, it's the chase guys. I mean, no one gives them the credit. They're different animals.
Yeah.
I mean, what they do, and a lot of them do. Like my crew chief, he will not let anyone else drive his chase truck, and he's going to do the whole thing. And you're going to see him at the finish line. He's going to seem normal, and you're going to be like, dude, how?
Yeah.
But that's what he lives for. So it's the chase guys is nuts, and like just the moods of, there's so many different moods throughout the night. Like you said, you're joking, and then you're miserable, and then something happens, and it's just pure chaos. And I mean, radios are going crazy, and then all of a sudden it's just zen, quiet, and you're just driving in the absolute middle of nowhere.
I think it parallels as being a driver, though. It's like, behind the wheel of a truck, like there's times where, I've experienced it, you've experienced, you're in the truck and things haven't gone your way. You've had to get out. You've had to wrench. You're back in. It's late. It's hot. You're dirty. You're sweating. You're sitting there getting beat up in like a rugged-ass section of the course. And you're like, why do I want to do this? Like, what's wrong with me that I'm doing this? And then you get to the finish line. You're like, oh, yeah, let's do it again. And you're like, you can't even stand up.
No, I always claim it's type 2 fun. And sadly, I'm really addicted to type 2 fun, but you're hating it doing it. And then you get out and that's all you're going to talk about. We're going to sit here and talk about these stories all the time. But while you're doing it, you're like, this is stupid. Why am I doing this? This is terrible.
It's funny, mate. I'm curious if you've experienced this. When you come back and you go into like normal life, and people are coming to you with like problems and they're freaking out, and you're looking at them going like, "Dude, this is not a big deal." Do you experience that?
Totally. No, I think the Baja throws so much at you. Like especially like if you're out on the side of the road, something breaks. Like people are freaking out. It's like, dude, this is not like. Yeah, it definitely numbs you to certain stuff, which I think it helps. I'm very thankful for it, and like it's allowed me to grow as a person and like be able to fix problems and in different business and stuff. So I think like being raised in the off road is really beneficial personally, because it makes you work hard and realize that life's tough and there's a lot of ups and downs, but. It all works out.
Adapt, overcome.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, and also I think one of the biggest life lessons, which is, racing doesn't lie. What you put into it is what you get out of it, and you cannot cheat it, right? No. You're going to get it handed to you.
No.
Whether short course is a little bit more brutal in the sense that it's in front of everybody. So when you screw up, everybody's like, yeah, he screwed that up. So in desert racing, you get to hide a little bit of that, but then you come back and you have to explain to people why you weren't there at the finish, or why you didn't, place or whatever. And, a lot of times it's like, I screwed up. I hit a rock. I hit a tree.
Yeah.
There are mechanical failures, and that's the whole thing too. But yeah, it's very, off-road racing doesn't care who you are. It's going to hand it to you either way. And if you're not prepared going into it and ready for war, you're gonna be sleeping in the desert.
No, and I think that's one of the reasons I love it so much. It's that addictive of, if you don't put in the work, it's gonna, as much as you can fake it and like do the outs, make it all look like you got it figured out. As soon as you get down to Baja will let you know, no, you don't have it figured out.
Yeah.
Like like every race we're like, oh, we're starting to figure this out. We're starting, and then boom, you just get hit with something just so heavy. It's like, oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Baja, I'm sorry.
I hate to break it to you, but even the most experienced teams, they continue to learn things like that. Like, that's a new one.
No, there's always something. And now with like the logistical challenge of running a top team, it's chaos. But it's fun, and it's such adapting now with Starlinks and all this. Like, it's changing all of our plans, and and now chase trucks are getting so capable of we can send people in a lot faster. So I just love it.
That's why I've said all along. I'm like, people they look at motorsports, you talk about logistics and things like that. And I go, aside from Dakar and Rally Raid stuff, I'm like, there is nothing more strenuous on a race team than a race in Baja. With chasing, and especially like 1,000 that's point to point, you got to have multiple chase trucks. They all have to be prepped, and then the hours at time, it's like, in your pit crews and keeping them fresh to be able to do. I'm like, the logistics of desert racing, especially in Baja where you're chasing, it's so intense.
I mean,
aside from Dakar, there's nothing in the world.
Racing against your dad is something that 90% of the racers in the world will never get.
I've accomplished everything I wanted to do, and now he's just like taking the reins. I want to be remembered for being a huge part of short course, not just racing, keeping it alive, helping it grow. If it comes down to the last weekend and I'm in it, the boys better watch out.
I think it's way gnarlier than Dakar. I mean, I respect Dakar. I've been to 3 or 4 of them and observing, and it's gnarly, and I think what was impressive for me about the last one I went to in Saudi was like, we were just chasing. And by day 4, like, I was tired. You know what I mean? I'm like, man, I'm end of the day, and we're just chasing primarily on pavement, doing a little bit of off-roading. We were just like shellacked, right? So I have a lot of respect for those guys, but that's more, it's more, of a distance thing. It's cool, but our stuff is so much more savage and on everything. And like you were explaining with the chase crews, like I just did it with my friend who recently started trophy truck racing, and we started talking about the 1,000, and I'm like, dude, it's too late. He goes, what do you mean? I go, look, in order to do this correctly, we already should have had the guys ready, the vehicles, have a plan, have lodging, equipment, spares. I'm like, how many spares do you need? You know what I mean? Because if you break here, you're done. If you break here, you're done. You got to get people into you. So, generally on a peninsula run like this, you need 4 solid chase trucks moving, right? Not sitting in one spot, but moving down the peninsula with you, carrying a spare transmission, spare tires, spare engines, spare axles, on and on spares. And it's often the case that, if you have spares loaded on one vehicle, it's not going to be in the right place when you need them.
Never.
So then it's like, hey, how many spares and how many trucks do you want? Because that's going to be time, right? So it's a lot, and the logistics of it. There's very few people that really have that logistical part mastered, and that's part of off-road racing. That's part of the entire racecraft of it. And you can't really run that when you're racing in the car. Somebody has to run that for you. And they're going to have to make hard decisions, right? Like, they're going to have to go, you know what? Like, I remember racing with the McMillans, and Scott McMillan was really good at it. And he would make decisions, and I would go, explain to me why you're doing that. And he goes, well, I think if we have a transmission here, that's really the only place we can swap a transmission. So if he breaks back here, we're done. If he breaks over here, we're done. But if he has a problem, he can get to here, we can change the transmission right there.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, well, how do you know that? And he's like, well, I've been coming down here. I've been doing this a long time. So that's a big part of the winning race teams is having that logistical, I don't know what you call that.
Formula or knowledge, but it's
I think it's knowledge. It's because it's something you learn over time.
Yeah.
You can't buy it.
You can't buy it. You can't teach it. You've got to experience it and learn over time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's also, when Scott would go down, even after he was done racing, he would pre-run. So he knew the course, right? And he's like, yeah, I think we're going to have problems right here. I think, silt bed, people are going to get stuck. That's going to strain the transmission. So let's have a transmission here. And I'd be like, okay, all right. And it taught me a lot, right? And just how to think about the logistics of everything.
No, yeah, you have to be down there pre-running and knowing, and that's what it's been fun for me because we're still figuring it out, and it's just a challenge. But like the pre-running it's more than just figuring out the race course. It's figuring out, okay, where can I get guys?
Yeah.
And where can I? And we have a guy down there pre-running just his chase roads and stuff and timing them and everything. And so, it's that's like so cool. And in the beginning, I was running all the logistics, and now I've realized I can't do this from inside. And so now I have a new guy, Quinn, and he's been killing it. But he was like, oh yeah, it'll take me a couple hours a week. I'll do it on the side. Now he's just like, I've never could have imagined this was so. And he's been in off-road, but he's like, this is so intense. Like, this is every single day there's a problem coming up to the 1,000. There's something. Or hotel floods. Like, Baja never disappoints.
No, and it's really like 3D chess, right? It's like, you've got the driver and the race plan, and then you've got the chase plan, and then, it's going to adjust because something goes wrong, and it's like, hey, chase 4, we need you over here. Well, now you just compromise the chase plan because he's supposed to be, here at this point, right? And then you have like race speeds, like we always do it as promoters. Is we look at the data and we go, based on last year's data, here's where we think they'll be when we think they'll be there, right? And so we have those time gates that, if everything's clean, they'll be here at this point. So we've got to be, ready to swap, tires, fuel, look at everything else and make sure he's good to go. But it's a lot, but I love it. You know, it's like one of those things where, like, I think once I would compare it to war, right? Like once you operate at such a high level, then after that you come back and you're like, this life in general is a little boring.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's almost gonna die.
It's just like, it's very boring.
Yeah, and then you want the next challenge, right? You want to go back and learn, and the learning process too is really fun. Yeah, it's like you go down and you're trying to figure out chase roads and talk to farmers and looking at stuff and I just that's even up here in the States we do the same thing. It's like we're out marking our California 300 course and figuring out chase lines. For us, and also like looking at where are people going to creep into the course and how do we block that, right? And I enjoy that process.
Yeah, no, I don't think people like realize like, we're down there like pre-running and we're paying farmers to let us pit in here I pay guys to cut their fence down so I can pull a chase truck in and then I rebuild it the week after, but like that's the things that aren't shown that like logistically and then. It more like so you have the race plan, then you have the chase plan, then you have like medics, and then you have a helicopter. Like that, there's so many more steps.
And then you have to have contingency plans for everything because it's Baja and anything will and can happen.
And content, like that's one thing that you've also done well, right?
Yeah, you've got a media team.
I have a whole media team. They have their own trucks, they have their own plans, and they have to pick up here, they have to drop off here. Oh, that's a whole nother. Yeah, you have to sit down with that, and then one's in the helicopter, so then he's got to get here, and then they also have to be posting live, so then they, so like all that, and and then now I do a lot of VIP experiences now too, so then I even have two Raptors that are just shuttling VIPs.
Cam Raptors.
Yeah.
Well, that's one thing that kind of segues us into something though that I wanted to bring up. It's like I had this conversation with somebody yesterday, and it's talking about you, and I go. I think it was with BJ.
Yeah.
We were talking about BJ Baldwin, and and I said there's a handful of us that have figured out how to make a career in off-road in whatever way, but I go, most people don't approach this as a business. A lot of people, it's a fun, expensive hobby and a write-off. You've approached it as a business. How can I make this a business case for this? And with your VIP things, the way you activated events, the way you provide content to your partners, the way you approach everything is strictly from a business. And you're having fun. It's one of the greatest jobs on the planet, but you've approached it as a business.
No, it's purely that's like I look at it and then the racing's a bonus because it really this is an extremely expensive sport. You guys know that, and I just have. And even if I had unlimited money, I don't think I could just approach it and be like throwing money at it. Like it's such a challenge having the business side of it that I love that part. Like having the media, just being here at SEMA, like strategy more than just being here and talking and stuff. We're giving ride-alongs, we have activation, we have video content planned all week, and now it's all kind of slowly playing out.
Yeah. No, it's really cool, and the media side of it's really important. So are you guys going to do live posts while you guys are racing?
Yeah, so racing, we're going to have the goal is every pit to have a live feed going just on the Instagram Live, and then we have a whole strategy. They're going to be editing as we go up in chase trucks and stuff. So I got we have multiple filmers, editors, going to be kind of bouncing up. So we'll see how, it all comes together because always you have this plan and then Baja throws it at you. And next thing you know, I got a camera guy holding a tire or something, because, but no, I think
we don't have a chase truck there, but we got a media truck there.
No, I've done it before. You pull in and they're filming. They're going, we need it. You have a tire. I know. I put it in there.
Start fueling.
No, but they're, no, the media side's so much fun, and it's such a challenge, and like figuring out YouTube and the Instagram and all that. It's brutal. Baja's brutal, but social media is.
Well, you and I were just
brutal.
talking. What was it? A couple weeks ago, we talked on the phone. We were talking about algorithms and changing algorithms, and how the YouTube algorithm's different than the Instagram algorithm. And like you and I had this long conversation, just on, and it changes like sometimes daily.
No, that's what people don't realize. So we'll come here and film something like I was just shooting the intro for SEMA, my thing. We had a SEMA, a YouTube one, a YouTube Reels one, an Instagram Reels one, or an Instagram YouTube short, Instagram Reels one, then a Facebook one.
Yep.
And it's all saying the same thing. It's all the same thing, but one you got to do on an iPhone, one you got to do on a camera, one you got to do horizontal, and like people don't realize. And one you have to talk to like the different approaches just so it feeds the proper algorithms. And the best part is they change the algorithm every day, and they don't tell you.
Yeah.
So you just have to figure it out. It's awesome.
I'll give you a good one. So I think it was about 8 years ago, right? I do this thing to myself where, it's a challenge, but I'm like, hey, it can be done, right? So I'm, talking to the Monster guys, and they're complaining about the lack of coverage, and this was, when Sal still owned it, and I go, oh well, why don't we do live clips? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, we'll shoot and edit and post video, and they go, okay, cool, we're in. You can do that? And I'm like, yeah. And then I literally turn around to my brother, and I'm like, we need to figure this out, right?
Can we do this?
And this is all pre-Starlink and all this kind of stuff. So basically what we did is we, called our Mexican friends, said, hey, who has internet in what town? And, like, we're in some towns where, like, there was, like, one person who had internet, right? So we would shoot video, edit in the car, in the truck while we were moving, then get to some little town, pull in, hi, Lupe, we're here. We'd sit in the living room, jack into their Ethernet, and start uploading clips, right? And I think we did, that year we did 7 clips going all the way down the peninsula, and never, none of us, well, actually, I drove, so I never slept. A couple of the guys would, kind of nod off in between pits and stuff like that. But it can definitely be done, and now like Starlink's a game changer, both for like. Do you have a Starlink in-car system?
So we have. We've put it in. We pulled it out. It's just been so much trying to develop it and stuff.
Yeah.
So this race with Walter's truck, we do not.
Okay.
But going forward and.
Yeah. So I just saw the blueprint for the new Starlink that the FCC approved. It's only about that big, right? So that'll be a game changer in size, because right now, we got to have the whole pizza box on top, and then a Pelican case with a bunch of
inverters
stuff.
and the inverters and stuff. That's all the back end stuff that my crew chief is not very happy about.
Yeah. No, that's my life. Is like they see us walk in and they're like, okay, here comes Matt and the media crew, and they're going to slow everything down and ask us for power and whatever.
I was just talking with Blurton last week on the phone, and he's got this new system that they're putting in his car for the 1,000, and he goes, so it's like, it's got crazy. He goes, I got people that this stuff, but he goes, we've got one live feed. He goes, it's going to go out to social media. He goes, but we've got a guy that's sitting in La Paz the entire race, and he goes, it's on a delay. He goes, so what they're seeing is going to be delayed by like 30 seconds, so if there's something we need to trim out, whatever, he goes, we can. He goes, then we have a second redundant feed that's live that goes to all the chase trucks, and it's in real time. So they can see things as it happens, and he goes, and then we have the delayed feed that goes out to everybody else, and he goes, so we went from having no feeds in the car to 2 live feeds, one just on a semi-delay that we can edit and slide stuff in that we need to, and I'm going, and Phil's, and this is on a UTV. And I'm just laughing because I'm like, man, things have definitely changed in off-road.
Well, they're evolving fast.
Well, what's cool is what's coming is, you guys having all the data and telemetry, right? And then, people like Croyer being able to see that stuff and make adjustments on the engine on the fly, right? On suspension, on anything that's electronic, as well as your co-driver will be able to see, other vehicles' track positions, and real-time timing, right?
Yeah. No, that's it. I mean, even already with Starlinks and stuff, we're able to get true splits, and we see them. When you're driving at high speeds, and then the guy's yelling these numbers at your head, and you're like, "What did you say? Was it 2 minutes up or 2 minutes down?" And you're like, so now, we have an iPhone, and we're like, "Oh, boom, 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 boom," and so that's that part's awesome. I mean, I'm so excited. Like in the next couple of years, I think off-road's going to change big. So
everything that other motorsports have been able to do for a while, now off-road's actually able to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's great is for the first time ever, a lot of this stuff, we're able to share it with the world, and we weren't. And that's been kind of one of the things about desert racing for years is we knew it was the greatest motorsport in the world, but we couldn't share that and show people. Now we're able to show that.
No, it's going to be – I'm excited. I mean, it's going to be one of those things with how big F1 is now and everything. I mean, there's a lot of potential, and I'm excited to be part of it because it's always tough, being an off-road because it is hard to view. People, how do I watch it? How do I watch it? And you're always like, well, you could do this, or this, and this. But now it's like –
Well, like Cam from Optima is a good example, right?
Yeah.
So here's a guy who's been in this industry forever, but until he got into a chase truck with you guys, he never really understood or got to see what we were doing.
Yeah.
He was just always like, not dismissive, but like, hey, it's too difficult to see it and observe it. Yeah. So,
No, as soon as I confidently say, like, any person who's a diehard F1 fan, they're always, and then as soon as they get here, they're like, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, how have I never heard of this? Or how have I never, and we had a bunch of F1 reporters from Mexico at the Baja 500, and they were just like, this is, like, I'm going to be so bored at F1 now.
Yeah.
Like, obviously F1 is different, but, like, they were like, this is just insane. Like, they were in a chase truck. They were in, like, they were all dirty. And they're like, this is just insane. Like, that you guys it's just controlled chaos, but you're racing at high speeds in these $1 million vehicles. And it's like you have that combination of just chaos, but also just precision.
Yeah.
So.
Well, speaking of that, right, you have a new truck coming.
That's
right,
the rumor on the street.
From Mason, right? When do you get your new truck?
Hopefully by the end of the year. So, yeah, we'll start testing that thing and then start figuring out our next challenges and how to do things bigger and better. And, yeah, I got a lot to learn still.
I'm excited for you. I mean, you've done extremely well in 6100, and now I think it's time. I think it's time for you to move up and, start learning trophy trucks. And, I think the best advice I would give you is, like, just take your time and enjoy it, right? Because, I know there's pressure, always pressure to win, pressure you put on yourself, sponsors' expectations, your dad, right?
Yeah.
I know he likes to win.
Oh, yeah.
At least he likes to talk about his son winning, right?
we like to win. It's a bad it's like anything. You do it once, and it's hard to stop.
Yeah. But, at your age, it's all blue sky, right? And you're getting what is arguably the best truck out there in the field, right?
Yeah.
And your driving style, too, it's like, you're going for it.
No, we're going for it, and I feel very fortunate. I never thought I'd be there that quick. Like, in the back of my head, I'm going to be there. But now it's all happening. I'm like, holy cow, it's happening. Like,
yeah.
This was a 5-10 year plan, and now we're year 2. And
it's funny because I've noticed that same thing with some of the other trophy cart kids, right?
Yeah.
And when you start driving at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, you're getting that seat time and that experience. So by the time you're 20, you're like, yeah, you're 10 plus years into it, 13 years into it. So that's a whole new evolution that we have going on in our sport. That never happened before.
No.
Usually it was like around 40, 50 years old, you've made enough money where you're like, I'll blow some money and have fun, right?
Yeah.
So then you start racing. And, by the time you're 60, now you're good, right? And you're a little tired at that point, right?
Yeah, no, that's they bred us to, we this is what we grew up. This is all we know how to do in a way. Like, and that's people always like, oh, how do I be faster? Seat time.
Yeah.
And I know I'm young, but I have 13
I tell people
years.
seat time in anything.
Yeah, anything. I mean, I used to go kart. I've done drifting. I've done all the different stuff, and so no, it's crazy. Our trophy cart kids. It's kind of cool to see the wave. There's our group, and you see, some are going NASCAR, some are doing this, some are like we've all split off, and I've still stayed in the off road, but I'm different than we're all short course guys. So
yeah, but it's really cool to see. I tell the story, quite often about being at Dakar and sitting with some of the OG guys at the end of the stage and waiting for the UTVs to finish, and Mitchie comes through, and he's fast, right? He's hauling, and I think it was one of the OG guys is like, I don't understand how these kids are so fast, right? And I'm like, dude, if you guys think this is a big deal, like, there's hundreds of these kids coming, right?
Well, yeah, it's scary. That's what I was doing, activations out in the demos area with Brody Eggleston, which I remember training him in go-karts when he was like 5, and I was, and now he's faster than me. And I'm like, well, don't let it get to your head yet. This is just a demo. There's no one competition out here. But no, I'm like, shoot, dang, I gotta actually I thought I could just toss it around this weekend. And they're like, oh, Brody did this. I'm like, all right.
Yeah. No, that's rad. That just having that in off-road, I think, is a really important paradigm shift. It started with trophy carts, now with UTV and youth racing, and it's just beginning. It's funny. Like, I don't know if you've ever been back to some of the big motocross races like Loretta Lynn, where they have the nationals, and it's like thousands upon thousands of kids, and they want to be the next outdoor motocross champion or the next supercross champion, right? And from a tiny baby to the point of them going pro, that's all they want to do. And I hope to get that going for us, for our sport with youth racing. I think it'll be really cool, and obviously it's a bit safer because you're putting your kid in a cage. So
yeah, no, but like anything, it creates a bad addiction.
Yeah,
because that's all I think about now is racing. So
that's awesome.
No, it's the trophy carts are the best thing that's ever happened to off-road, in my opinion, because now, it's helping, it's building this whole core that's, in a couple of years, you look and all the kids coming up, you're like, there's going to be a lot of trophy trucks, a lot of 6100s, a lot of Pro 2s, that's where they only got one place to go. Like, where are they going to go, so.
Yeah.
It makes me a little nervous. I'm considered an old guy to some of these kids now. I'm like, oh.
I think you're going to be like Rossler. You're going to be like 70 and still sending it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll see. I feel old. This week I'm like, I don't know.
Well, that's SEMA
in general.
That's SEMA.
No, I think I'll do it forever. I just love it. I wake up every day and just the adventure and that next adrenaline rush of what's next. How can we do it bigger, better, faster, crazier? And off-road has everything.
Off-road has everything. Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So good luck at the 1,000, buddy.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me and letting me rant a little.
Yeah.
Good seeing you guys.
All right. Thanks.